What does it take to make a woman choose her family over the life she was living? In my case, it took losing them completely. Not temporarily, not in the manageable way where someone threatens to leave and you make adjustments and things settle back down. I mean, waking up one morning and understanding with complete clarity that the family I had taken for granted had quietly made a life without me in it, and that I had nobody to blame for that except the woman I saw in the mirror. My name is Angela, and the honest version of this story does not make me look good for most of it. I was not a good wife. I was not a good mother. I want to say that plainly because dressing it up would be a dishonesty I cannot afford anymore. For 3 years, I chose my social life over everything and everyone that should have been my priority. I went out with friends 4 or 5 nights a week, not occasionally, consistently. Birthdays and weekends and Tuesday nights that turned into Wednesday mornings. I was chasing something I could not name. Freedom, maybe, or the version of myself that existed before marriage and children made demands on her. My husband Robert handled it for longer than he should have. He put the children to bed on the nights I was not home. He made school lunches and attended parent evenings and handled the particular invisible labor of parenting largely alone while his wife was in a bar somewhere posting photographs with people who did not know her children's names. He told me twice in the first year that he was struggling. I heard him both times and changed for approximately 2 weeks before sliding back. By the second year, he stopped telling me. That silence should have been louder than the conversations. It was not. I came home one Friday evening, later than I had said, which had become a pattern, and the house was quiet in the wrong way. Not evening quiet, empty quiet. Robert's car was gone. The children's shoes were not by the door. He had left a letter on the kitchen table. He had taken the children to his mother's house 40 minutes away. He said he needed space to think and that the children needed stability and that he could not keep providing both for them while also waiting for a wife who had not been present in any meaningful way for 2 years. He said he was not filing for anything immediately. He was just stepping back. I sat at that kitchen table for a long time. The house around me was full of evidence of a life I had been neglecting. Drawings on the fridge, small shoes I had stepped past 100 times, a photograph of all 4 of us from a holiday 2 years ago when things were still intact. I had been present for the photograph and absent for almost everything after it. Robert's mother lived 40 minutes away. When he eventually moved into his own place with the children, it was 4 hours from where I was living. 4 hours. I made that drive every weekend for 11 months, not because a court told me to, not because anyone was monitoring my effort, because I got in my car every Saturday morning at 5 a.m. so I could be there before my children woke up. Because I had decided that whatever I had been chasing was not worth the look on my daughter's face the first time I arrived after weeks of distance. She stood at the door and looked at me the way children look at things they are not sure they can trust yet, and that look rearranged something in me permanently. I stopped going out, not because Robert asked me to, because I had finally seen clearly what the going out had cost, and the number was too high. Robert did not make it easy. He was not cruel, but he was honest, and honesty from someone you have genuinely wronged is its own difficulty. He told me things in those early weekend visits that I had to sit with without defending myself. I had earned the right to listen and nothing else. I got a job near his location after 5 months. I told him I was not doing it to pressure him. I was doing it because being 4 hours from my children was not something I was willing to maintain, and because proximity was the only way I could show him consistency over time. He watched me for 6 more months before he said anything. What he said eventually was not a declaration, it was a question. He asked me if I understood what I had done to the family, not what I had done to him specifically, but to the unit of us. I said yes. He asked how I knew I would not do it again. I said I did not know how to prove that with words, and that was why I had been showing up every Saturday at 5 a.m. for 11 months. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said we could try. Not a reunion, a beginning, something careful and slow, and watched closely by two people who both knew the cost of moving too fast. My daughter asked me one Saturday morning if I was staying this time. I said yes. Then I stayed. If this story touched your heart, please consider subscribing to this channel. Every subscriber helps me share more meaningful stories like this. Thank you so much for being here.